Someone told my daughter that her ass was fat like a turkey.
And first of all, she looks like an Ethiopian. Was that right to say? She looks like she doesn't ever eat.
It's accurate to say.
I feel bad.
I don't know if it's PC, but it's accurate, so it is what it is. But yeah, no, she's very, very skinny. But in all honesty, the only thing that's fat on her is that ass.
She has a booty.
She got the butt from us. The butt.
Yeah.
And so I want to be like, honey, first of all, he wasn't wrong, but we don't have to care what he thinks. And if you would have said, and I quote, shut the fuck up, I wouldn't have grounded you. What did she say? I rolled my eyes and I almost said, go fuck yourself.
That's my girl.
She's 11.
That's what you say to dumbos when they say stuff like that.
I wouldn't have grounded you, LOL, but we don't have to care what he says.
That's right. That's the better way, the more effective way of dealing with things.
He's the one that was staring, obviously.
We don't have to respond.
All right. There's that. All right, Lindsay Lou. Joys of parenthood.
There we go.
Hi. Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome, 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 welcome. How are you guys? Thanks for joining us.
This is 2 Peas in a Crime Pod, episode 7, part 3.
Point 3. I'm Courtney.
No, this is my daughter, Courtney.
Do we always have to do that every time?
We always have to do that.
And this is my mama, Kelly. My edamame.
Oh, I thought you were going to forget to call me edamame. I prefer when you call me mama.
I know, I always call you
Or
Mom.
you used to call me Madre. I like that.
I did. You're still in my phone as Madre.
Am
Yes.
I? Okay.
Yeah. Mama, my mama.
Yeah, that's why Lindsay doesn't recognize when I call, because before she didn't know who Madre was.
No, and everybody who's like someone very special to me is in my phone as something other than their name. So if there's ever, like, if my phone gets lost and you're going through it, you're going to be like, I don't know who the fuck any of these people are. Nothing says mom or dad. Madre kind of makes sense, but my dad is in my phone as El Crap.
El Crapo.
Just El Crap, because we used to watch The Angry Beavers, and there was a wrestler on that show called, I think it was El Grapadula, and so I just started calling my dad El Crapadula, and then I just shortened it to El Crap in my phone.
That is so
and
perfect.
Sometimes I go to make an order at El Camps, the local Mexican restaurant.
And you call your dad.
And I call my dad. Or sometimes my car breaks down and I need my dad and I call El Camps. Yeah. And Clay's in my phone as Clay Bebe. Clay Bebe.
Right.
Clay
right.
Bebe. And Marissa is in my phone as Marista Sista.
Marista Sista. I love it.
And Christopher's in my phone as Biba.
You're in my phone as Muffin.
Yeah. So yeah, my kids are always like, I don't know who the hell you're texting. Who is this person? Yeah, good times.
Good time. So let's talk about our outfits.
It's Christmas time.
'Tis the season to be merry.
I got my Christmas jammy pants.
I got mine on too, but I don't think I can lift my leg that high. They're plaid, red and green.
They're super cute. They are. You look really super cute. Like, yours is a Christmas outfit that totally makes sense with your little Mary shirt, and it's all red and green. And my pants definitely look like Christmas, and I've had them for so long that Santa's beard looks gray.
Those pants are old.
They are, I mean, at least 6 years, maybe a decade old, but they are the most comfortable pair I've ever had. I love these things. I wear them all year long.
Yeah. It's not just for Christmas.
No, I wear them all the time because they're super comfy. I love them. And then my shirt doesn't make any sense. It just says, bye, Felicia.
It's just comfortable.
Because
she told me what she was wearing, and I said, well, I'll wear my Christmas jammies then.
And I said, no, now I'm not going to look good because mine aren't jammies. It's what I wear to bed, but it's not jammies.
It's just a t-shirt.
But don't we all know a dumb bitch named Felicia?
Bye, Felicia.
Anyways, I'm excited for part 3 because I just want to be able to say, like, I told you so. I told you so. So I'm ready to gloat.
Okay. Well,
I'm feeling really confident at the end of 7.2, episode 7.2. If you haven't checked it out, you should watch them in order. Okay? Because it builds. It makes sense when it builds.
Wait. Don't go into it yet. I have something to say.
Oh?
I think we should always start our episode out with just a little personal commentary.
Didn't we just do that on our close?
Nah, it wasn't long enough.
Okay.
I have something to say.
Oh, you have something. Okay.
It's just personal stuff because I feel like it's interesting.
Oh, well, yeah, no. Give the people what they want. They want the tea. You guys want the tea,
You guys
right?
want the tea, right?
Yes.
Okay, so here's some really good tea.
I like mine with honey. Give it to me.
Okay, this is coming more with a shot of bourbon.
Oh, okay. All right. I have no idea what's about to be said. Now I'm excited.
I was just thinking the other day, I made a comment to you on, it was either our first or second episode. When were you talking about your teacher whose lawn you forked with plastic forks and spoons, and you saran wrapped their trees and papered them?
I thought it was episode 5.
Oh.
I thought it was
just recently?
Yeah, I thought it was way later. Because I don't think that I've seen... Because the only one that I haven't watched back yet so far is episode... Wait. Amish is episode 4, right?
Yes.
I think it was episode 5
Okay.
that I said that. Well, no, because... Hold on.
It's hard to remember.
We were talking about growing up in an age where... Was it when I was talking about growing up without security cameras, or was it a different time that we went off on a tangent? I go off on so many tangents, dude, I can't keep track. It was truthful, but I don't know when the fuck I said it.
It was a great sidewinder.
It was a good
It was
sidewinder.
one of the good ones.
And it was very funny because...
It was hilarious.
It's funny because it's true.
Yeah, I had said, wait a minute, didn't you? And why did I say that? What did we just come out of talking about?
Right now?
No. When I said, didn't you toilet paper your teachers? So in that episode,
yes,
I had said that. I'm trying to think of what we had just come out of talking about to remember which episode it is. I can't remember. You
Vandalism?
know what?
I swear to God, I thought it was that we were talking about things that you can't get away with anymore, like little bits of crime or little bits of like things that you used to get to do, like not crime, but... And I started talking about the summer where I stole the toilet and I TP'd the houses and shit and the dumb shit that I used to do that wasn't necessarily like awful, but...
It was hilarious.
Yes.
It wasn't awful. It wasn't lawful.
No, it wasn't lawful. I'd have had to explain it. But...
And I remember, so this was the point I wanted to make.
Okay.
I was very snarkily like, I didn't raise her to be that way. Did you hear me say that?
I don't remember.
You were talking and I was like, I didn't raise her to be that way.
Oh, I thought you were being funny. No. So if you were being serious, then fuck you.
Yeah, I was being serious. and the funny part about it, see, because I don't know how to be funny. And so I'm usually being serious and it comes off being funny, or I'm usually being funny and it comes off being serious or stupid. But I want to be
Even if you
funny.
were being serious, you certainly did not raise me to be that way. You would have been furious that I was doing something...
that could get you in trouble.
Borderline illegal.
Yeah.
You would have been furious that I was out at dark and that you didn't know where I was.
Yes.
And that something could have happened to me and that you would have had no way of like tracing my steps. Mm-hmm. You were furious that I was using my car to steal dirty toilets. Like you would have been. Like,
oh yeah.
There were so many parts of what I said that you would have been you absolutely didn't raise me to do those things.
Totally true. So,
and I won't say that Dad did either, because Dad didn't want me out.
He never did anything like that.
Dad had a curfew, but he was more like he was creative when it came with like to dumb shit to do. Like Dad and Dirk were the ones that figured out that you could run through the house and then jump out the second story window and do cannonballs off the trampoline into the pool.
Right.
And then run through the house soaking wet and do it again. Like, they came up with creative, dumb stuff to do
lifestyle.
that was borderline very dangerous and stupid.
Yes.
And wrecking their dirt bikes. And I think...
Yeah.
So if I got any kind of dumb hillbilly in me, it's from Dad. If you had to hold up a sign, Mom or Dad...
I'm the white trash.
Who instilled stealing toilets? Dad. That's definitely a Crumb thing, not a you thing.
Remember I sent you that text and it said, I'm so good, but it came out, I'm so hood.
Yes. And then you were like, well, both.
I am so hood, but that was
But I
totally
meant to say good. Yeah.
Well, the point I was trying to make is I'm being all snarky. And then I thought about it afterwards. And I'm like, I'm so retarded. I'm making like she did this horrible, terrible thing. And then I was thinking about when I was your age, the crap that I was doing.
Which is probably why I thought you were being funny, because if you had been being serious with me, I would have gotten defensive. And I'd
You
have
would
been
have
like,
told me about everything I ever did.
I'd have been like, really, Kelly, let's recap your youth. Do we want to go there? Or do we want to admit that mine was pretty juvenile and not that big of a deal? Which one of us got pregnant? Which one of us got pregnant at 16? Let's start there.
But the main
I didn't raise her to steal toilets. When I was 16, we used to just fuck random boys like a normal 16-year-old. And smoke pot and sneak out of our friends' basement windows.
That's what we did. And we drank JD and MD. I bet you don't even know what those stand for.
No.
Jack Daniels and Mad Dog.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And Brass Monkey. I'll never forget. I don't even know. I'm going to say it. You won't care. I'm just going to out my mom right now. But there was this one time where my mom was telling me the story when I was growing up. She used to tell me these stories to like, I am going to scare you straight, I think was her like purpose of these stories. And one time we were listening to the song Brass Monkey, which is funny because we were talking about BC Boys in our last episode. We were listening to Brass Monkey and we're like, that funky monkey. Boom, 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 boom. And then she just turns the radio down and she goes, Courtney, if you ever go to a party, don't ever drink Brass Monkey, though. Because one time, the first time I tried Brass Monkey, I woke up hours later and my clothes were on inside out. Like I don't think I put them on myself. And we're just riding in the car and I think that she just expressed to me that she experienced an SA in her youth, that she was drugged and assaulted. And I was like, okay, I won't. Okay, Mom,
and
no,
another
no problem. I was like, bitch, it sounds more like you were roofied. Like, and then rhymes with shraped. I was like, okay, I don't know how to take this information, and that sounds awful.
That was nothing compared to half the other things I've been through.
Yeah, so that's just I am gonna scare you straight. That was like, I think that was your same, like when I went to the dance, I was like, I'm going to my first dance. Do you have any advice? And you're like, don't dance with anybody that you wouldn't want to have sex with.
I said, don't go to the bathroom alone. I was so worried something terrible was going to happen to her.
Yeah. I think my first dance, I didn't even get to go to a dance until my sophomore year. You wouldn't let me go my freshman year because that's when we were really super Christian and I couldn't listen to secular music. And the dances was for the devil. High school dances is the devil. And couldn't go.
I took it too far, as I always do.
Well, you were devout. I can appreciate that. So I didn't get to go to my sophomore year. And I think I missed the first one, and then I got to go to the second one, like the winter one, not the fall one. And if I remember correctly, I ended up crying before the dance because you had sat down and like gave me a lecture. And then you started crying because you were like, I said too much. I did too much, didn't I? And I was like, yeah.
I ruined it. And I felt horrible.
She felt so bad.
I thought I was giving her some really good, solid advice that she would want to know. And instead she was just thinking, why is my mom crazy?
I just wanted to go and
have a good time.
I just wanted to do the cha-cha slide with my girlfriends. I didn't even have a boyfriend. I didn't even have a date. I was going with a group of girls where none of us had a date because we were the fucking weird girls that were doing weird, giggling and making jokes and being weird. No boys wanted anything to do with us. I was like, bitch, I just wanted the cha-cha slide and now I'm cha-cha crying.
I just didn't want her to be traumatized by the SA predator and instead I traumatized her.
Yeah.
That was story of my life. Live and learn. The first one you make the most mistakes with.
Yeah, and then my brother, she was like, go have fun. You can't get pregnant. Do your worst. Come home whenever. It is what it is. I'm really not mad. It's not. We're so far past that. And like I said, it was out of a place of love. It wasn't a bad. You weren't trying to be mean or malicious.
I just
You're
didn't
just
know.
desperately scared. And as a teenager, that was harder to understand. I understood it to an extent, but I couldn't empathize. I couldn't get it fully. As a mother, it is completely full circle where I see how being a mom and loving something so much and letting like your own heart like leave your body and walk around is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
And you do say too much because you're just terrified.
Well, nobody said anything to me growing up. So
Free for all.
I got no advice, zero. And I had no skills whatsoever, no life skills, no social skills. And let me tell you, when my teens came, I was the quintessential, what do they call that when you're rebelling? Rebelling, maybe? I was rebellious.
Can we get to the case? I'm excited, bitch. Stop trying to hold out on me.
Okay.
She's just trying to keep me from being able to say I was right.
Do we need to recap? Not as long as the last recap. Let's just really quickly.
Okay, so basically, scenario is husband calls the cops and says wife and children were murdered, and obviously he fucking did it. And so it just becomes, how do we prove in a
He
court
blamed
of...
it on hippies.
How do we... Right. He tried to fucking say that it was Manson family-esque, and how do we prove that it was him? And the only person who was interested in proving that was the stepfather of the wife, Colette, that was murdered, and who was also the grandfather of Kimberly and Kristen, the 5-year-old and 2-year-old that were murdered. And she was pregnant
Jeffrey
at the
Jr.
time, so there was Jeffrey Jr., who was 5 months in utero, who died subsequent to the mother's fatal injuries. So
This has been a hard case. We've had some tears.
Teared up. It's rough. It is a rough one. Everything about it is rough and gross. So that's why I'm excited for part 3, just to see justice maybe fucking happen. That's the only reprieve that I have, is that maybe we're about to find out that he's in fucking prison. Wouldn't that make me happy?
We have not given a viewer discretion.
I think we gave one the first time. I don't know if we gave one the second time. You might just... You know what we should do? I'm just going to have to fucking do one at the end and then cut that, throw it in.
We could do that.
Or just make a standard, like, just right now.
Just a picture or a video that says...
Viewer discretion is advised. We're about to discuss the following very sensitive and triggering topics. Murder. Essay. Graphic crime detail. I mean, what else? Child murder.
Child essay.
Child abuse. Yeah, any of the above. We're probably going to touch on it. It's going to be gross, like an uncle that you don't want to touch you. If this isn't for you, I don't know why you're here to begin with. We're a crime podcast, but fair warning, get a fuck out. Otherwise, buckle up. So yeah, so just cut that and make that what we say every time. Just
okay.
That's it from now on.
Yeah, I can do that.
In my Christmas jammies.
And perfect.
Yeah, there we go. See?
Nothing like murder at Christmas.
I love a Christmas murder. Tell me that I'm right. It's time to tell me how right I was.
Okay. When the FBI... Okay, so without... His name is Freddie Kassab. That's the stepfather.
That's the stepfather.
He created an evidence book.
Investigator.
That was huge, that cross-examined everything. He showed it to the FBI, to the Department of Justice. They said, this is very intriguing.
This is making a lot of sense.
Let's reopen the case. So they re-examined the evidence with modern forensic methods. And with that, okay, here's what they found.
What year was this?
1978. The trial happened in 1979.
Okay, so 8 years opened up, 9 years later, trial's actually happening. So
Yes.
9 years of technological advances, scientific advances.
Right, the murders happened in 1970.
Okay.
So yes, what they found was Jeff's pajama fibers under Kristen, the 2-year-old who fought. under her fingernails. They found MacDonald's blood only in places that suggest staging. They found the pajama top holes matched the pattern of ice pick stab wounds that were made while the top was stationary, not flying around in a struggle. In other words, he had placed his top on top of Colette, and then without thinking about it, after he had already clubbed her and stabbed her with a knife, while his shirt was on top of her, kind of folded, he stabbed her with an ice pick 21 times. That left 48 holes in the shirt, and the FBI was able to forensically line them up and say, yeah, they perfectly match Colette's 21 stab wounds.
It's nuts. It's like after stabbing her with the knife, he like tossed his shirt off on her, went and got the ice pick, and then came back or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Yeah, he was so frenzied, he didn't even realize what he was doing until afterwards, because then he had to make up a lie about how the stab wounds got in the shirt.
Why his shirt was on her if he was asleep on the fucking couch.
So, if you haven't seen the first 2 episodes, we strongly recommend that you watch them, and then you'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah, you got to go back to figure out why I hate this dude so much.
It's a lot of information. And, but Freddie Kassab, her stepfather, is the one who actually did the initial folding of the holes and lining them up until he could see that they lined up perfectly. He's the one that discovered that, and then they forensically replicated that. But then there were movement patterns consistent with MacDonald being the lone attacker. And there was evidence that he killed Colette first and then the children. So those were the main things. So that's what they presented to the grand jury.
He had to touch this bloodied shirt and play with it to figure this out. Like, I know I touched on this last time, how unfair it was that he had to do this.
He didn't have the shirt. He had photocopies of it that he was able to replicate the holes and then folding it until he could see, yeah, here's her stab wounds.
Okay.
He still had to match it up to her torso.
I mean, it's still gross.
It's still gross.
But I can't get over the fact that he was the one that had to put in this work.
I know. As a parent, to have to...
And talk about a stepdad that stepped up.
I mean, we're just talking about it for a couple of hours, and it's disturbing.
Yeah.
He spent 9 years trying to figure out exactly what happened to his daughter.
And at first, he wasn't honing in on Jeff, and then once he honed in, he put it all in. He dedicated everything to lining up every bit of evidence and testimony and things that were said. And
yeah, he worked really hard at this. He was determined.
Yeah.
That his family would get justice. So they indicted him. The grand jury indicted him in 1975. Okay, so that all happened in 1975.
Okay.
There were appeals, and they delayed the trial until 1979. I know, it's such a long time. When they finally went to trial, it lasted 6 weeks.
Was he indicted during that? Or not, no, I'm sorry. Was he held in jail that whole time, or was he out?
I didn't check that. It seems to me from the movie that he was out. That he was like on bail.
If the movie's...
Because he was such a respected...
accurate, then... Oh, yeah, because he was a Green Beret and he was a doctor and just released on his own recognizance. I wonder. Or if there was bail and he made bail. Either way, he gets to be out while they're prepping for trial.
Right, which I believe he was. Because he was doing interviews and stuff.
Motherfucker.
All right. Here is the prosecution's theory. Jeff and Colette argued that night. Kimberly woke up during the fight and was struck accidentally while he was swinging at Colette, causing a severe injury where she bled. Mm-hmm. Fearing consequences and possibly acting in panic or rage, MacDonald killed Colette and then killed both children to conceal what happened. Kind of like what you were saying.
Yeah.
He then staged the scene. He wrote pig in Colette's blood. He stabbed himself. He planted the weapons. And he made up the intruder's story. But the blood evidence tells the true story, and that's what they were using in the trial. So Colette's blood was type A, and her blood trail told investigators where she was during the assault. The key findings were that her blood was found in the living room. So a little different than what you thought. It contradicts, though, Jeffrey's claim that she never left the bedroom. So there's one of those contradictions that Freddie found. Because her blood was in the living room, obviously she had left the bedroom and come into the living room at some point.
And I assume then there was like drips down the hallway that like led, like she must have been heading that way or heading back from the living room. Because also I go back to, what if blood was on him and it dripped off of him into the living room and that's how it got there? Like, how much blood was it? See, I have so many questions. Like,
well, her blood was smeared in patterns showing that she was moved, not attacked by multiple roaming assailants.
okay.
The cast-off patterns on the bedroom wall show overhead swinging motions from a blunt object. So breaking that down, what it means is the attack began in the bedroom. Colette may have been moved or been dragged during the assault. Her blood distribution does not match the chaotic scene.
Or maybe she didn't die and she was like crawling or dragged herself out while he was in one of the kids' bedrooms.
She could have been trying to save
and then
her
he had to go
kids.
back to the living room to be like,
Could have been.
bop.
Yeah. Her blood distribution does not match the scene that Jeffrey had described in any way. So it directly contradicts his intruders
Yeah.
chanting story because she was not in the bedroom the whole time.
Yeah.
Like he said. So he just contradicted herself because her blood was in the living room.
Okay.
So her position at death, Colette's posture and blood pooling and livor mortis patterns showed that she was alive for part of the attack and may have moved, and then she was conscious during the early blows. She was not killed instantly. She likely saw her attacker, and she suffered intensely, and she fought bravely. It shows that she was not attacked simultaneously with the children, which aligned with the domestic argument that escalated theory. In other words, it wasn't that there were 7 attackers, each one attacking a different person in a different part of the house simultaneously. It happened consecutively.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Defense could argue, maybe she was in the living room. I told you I was fucking passed out. Maybe she was in the living room while I was passed out. They drug her back and then I woke up. Defense could still argue that, but obviously we know I'm not buying it. But I have to play devil's advocate. I bet that's what the defense would have said.
Right. Right. Well, Jeff claimed that he fought off attackers while wearing his pajama top.
Right.
And he says it was torn during the struggle. He then removed it and placed it on Colette's chest. The evidence showed, which we already talked about, the 48 holes. It was not torn during a fight with violent stabbing going on. They actually did a demonstration in front of the jury where one of the prosecutors had a ice pick and one of them had it in his wrists, like Jeff said had happened with the shirt.
Tangled on him. Yeah.
And that he was fighting off blows. That ripped the thing to shreds. They were jagged tears. The actual tears in the pajama top were straight holes. Very clean.
Yeah.
So it was used as a prop to stage the crime. All right. What this means is that Colette was stabbed through the pajama top, which was placed on her after the fight began. The ice pick wounds were not defensive, did not occur in a chaotic struggle, were methodical, not random. It was staging, done to give the appearance of a ritualistic hippie murder, as you said. That single fact is one of the strongest proofs of guilt in the entire case, and that's what Freddie worked the hardest to discover. So what Colette's wounds say about the killer on a forensic psychologist level? Rage, not random violence. So as we were saying, narcissistic rage.
Yeah. Her wounds were deeper than the children's wounds. their collateral damage, but he was mad at her. He hated her.
Yeah, the sheer number and intensity of wounds indicate extreme emotional escalation. It also suggests a personal connection.
Yeah.
Multiple weapons and overkill strongly imply a killer with intense personal feelings.
Yeah, can you imagine? Like, it's one thing to hit somebody in a sudden rage and then see that they're hurt or bleeding and be like, oh my God, and the human in you comes back and you're like, fuck, 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 and ew, 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 and disgust and shame. It's another, like, they're already bleeding out and dead and you know they're carrying your baby and, like, come back and, like, stab them with a new type of weapon.
Yeah.
Some more.
Just continue it because you're just...
Yeah, like, they're becoming cold and you're, like, going back at it. Like, that's just next level psychopathy. Like, it's... Ugh.
Right. It suggests no fear of discovery. He had time to switch weapons, move her, stage the scene.
Exactly.
Then the staging after the fact shows the ice pick through the pajama top wounds prove deliberate post-crime manipulation. The attack did not match a spontaneous burglary or cult break-in. The violence was controlled, sustained, and targeted, not chaotic, which is what he was trying to make it appear. So, why the wounds were devastating to his case, to the defense, is Colette's wounds disproved Jeffrey's story that no stranger would switch between three weapons in a small space. No intruder would focus so intently on one victim. No group of drug-crazed killers would stage ice pick wounds. Defensive arm breaks proved a prolonged struggle with one attacker. And the injury sequences showed an emotional escalation typical of domestic homicide. Her blood patterns disproved Jeffrey's stated locations during the fight. So her wounds were the silent witness that told the true story.
Yeah. How hard she fought. Fought like hell.
So on the night of the murder, Kimberly, who was 5, she most likely witnessed some part of the initial argument or violence between her parents. The forensic evidence says she may have entered the master bedroom when Jeffrey attacked Colette. She was struck in the head with a blunt object, which likely immediately incapacitated her. Yeah. And it was either on purpose or accidental. There's no way to know. It may have occurred very early in the crime timeline. So, investigators believe Kimberly's injury may have been accidental. She may have walked in at the wrong moment. And this is important later in the sentencing, as you can probably imagine why that would be. Well, yeah,
if the defense sniffs out that this isn't going to go well, then they're going to say that, like I said, that it was just or not like I said, the opposite of what I said, that it was an accident, and then
which is the difference between first and second degree murder. She was already
gone, and then how is he going to keep the other sister alive with the mom and the sister gone, and, you know, and not like, yeah, no, it was my plan to get rid of all of them.
So, Kristen, I'm sorry, I skipped this. Her subsequent stab wounds occurred afterward, likely as part of the staged scene.
And if you really felt bad and it was an accident, you're beating the shit out of your wife and you swing back and hit your daughter that you don't know was there, you don't go back and stab her.
Not if you love her. Not if you care about her.
Yeah,
not if you
not
wanted
if it was
her.
an accident. And why couldn't you just say, like, yeah, whoever the guy that was in their room was the one using the blunt object and he conked her and then moved on. Like, no, you had such a fear of guilt and wanted to make sure no one knew it was you. Were already so concerned about making sure no one could.
Yeah, you had the forethought of mind.
Right, to know, like, I don't want this to get back to me. And then to continue to live with it and not tell anybody for 9 years and just continue to act like you didn't, like, come the fuck on.
Right. So little precious Kristen, who was only 2, forensically, they know she fought back. She had pajama fibers under her fingernails. She was really fighting. Her wounds showed that she had multiple defensive injuries. She struggled within her bed. 2 weapons were used, the knife and the ice pick, and it was a prolonged attack compared to Kimberly. She was the smallest and most vulnerable victim, yet her wounds indicated that she was awake and aware as the attack occurred. Investigators believe that after killing Colette and Kimberly, Jeffrey went to Kristen's room last. So the combined story told by the girls' injuries. When Kimberly and Kristen's wounds are analyzed together, the forensic picture becomes unmistakable. Kimberly's wounds show she walked in on the violence, she was attacked quickly, her body was moved, she wasn't the primary focus of the rage, and her stabbing was staging.
Yes.
Kristen's wounds, on the other hand, show she woke later. She fought. The killer attacked her after dealing with Colette and Kimberly. The attack was prolonged and weapon changing. Her wounds are a mixture of rage and staging. This proves one killer, no intruders, domestically driven violence, a clear sequence of events, and a staged crime scene afterward. So the girls' injuries were actually some of the strongest evidence against Jeff because they could not have resulted from the scenario he described.
Right.
So what investigators believe actually happened? The real reason Jeffrey was on the couch appears to be tied to a fight between him and Colette shortly before the murders. They had an argument that night. The evidence shows that Colette was exhausted, pregnant, overwhelmed. The marriage was strained. She had recently expressed frustration with Jeffrey being absent and emotionally detached. She returned from her college class tired and irritated. And then witnesses said the MacDonalds had been arguing more frequently. So as I said before, I think she just threatened she was going to leave.
Yeah, I absolutely.
I think he must have said something to her.
I think she said the thing.
I think he complained about something and it sent her over the... that was the straw that broke her back.
Yeah.
And she probably was just like, you know what, Jeff? I want a divorce. I'm taking the girls.
Yeah.
And that's what triggered his narcissistic rage.
No, I agree.
So then an argument happened late that night. Jeffrey left the bedroom in anger, and he took a blanket and went to the living room couch. This fits far better with the evidence than his "I fell asleep watching TV" version, because the couch showed almost no signs of actual sleep. The investigators noticed there were no indentations on the couch cushions, no pillow consistent with sleeping, no body impressions in the blankets. The blanket placement looked staged. The scene around the couch didn't look lived in.
Yeah.
We all know what that looks like with kids, and you have a
No, I
blanket
think
on
he
a
literally
couch.
took a blanket from a closet afterwards and took it there. And I don't think he ever... I would disagree. I don't think he ever went to the fucking couch, like I said. I think it got heated.
Okay.
And it exploded right then.
It exploded right then. There was no...
I don't even think he went to the couch to stew on it. It's possible maybe he grabbed the blanket, pissed off, and went to the couch, and then thought, you know what, I'm not going to the fucking couch. Well, it came right back.
What they think is that she followed him out.
And he cracked her in the head when she followed him out.
And he did something then, and then he moved her into the bedroom, and then that's when the major trauma and the fighting began, where she was defending herself and broke her arms.
I don't see it. I don't see her being able to put up such a fight that like Alna and Radius got broken defending yourself and fighting back if you had already been hit in the head and like bleeding. You'd be woozy. You'd be, especially you're pregnant, you're not going to feel right. You're not going to have, you know what I mean?
I'm telling you, that adrenaline kicks in and you become Superwoman. It's like being on meth or something. That adrenaline kicks in and suddenly you don't feel wounds and you don't It's amazing what happens. Adrenaline is amazing.
No, I know. I've experienced adrenaline, and I get it.
So it's just a could be.
It could be. I still see it.
could
It
be.
popped off, and he went after her, and she lightly fought back, which pissed him off even more.
That feels
and it
more
just
reliable.
got hot and
Yeah.
heavy,
Quick.
and
Just like that.
and then it escalated, and then like I said, then
But
Kimberly interrupts, and maybe she's not.
She probably just comes
dead.
to the door.
And she, like I said, I think maybe if there was blood in the living room, maybe she was trying to get away to get help.
That could be. Because her type A blood was found on the living room floor, and that suggested she entered the living room during or after a fight.
Yeah.
Or was dragged into the living room after being attacked. But that doesn't make sense because that's not where she was found.
He drug her out, and then he was like, no, I don't like this. I'm going to put her back in the bedroom. That's my story. I don't see that either. But who fucking knows?
So Jeffrey said Kimberly was asleep in her bed the whole time, but her type AB blood was found in the master bedroom and on the hallway floor. So there was dripping, and on bedding. So it says, that's just what I said, that they started a fight in the bedroom. Jeffrey left in anger, went to the couch. Colette came out, continued arguing. Their fight escalated back to the bedroom. Kimberly woke up and entered the room, and that's when the violence exploded.
Okay.
And that sequence fits the blood evidence, the pajama fiber patterns. They found his pajama fibers mostly in the bedroom, where he said he fought people off in the living room. They found no pajama fighters.
Who had the most defensive wounds? She did. Colette did. That's where the fucking... Because it was him.
Yeah, that's where all the pajama fibers were found. And his story of peaceful couch sleeping was a cover to avoid admitting a domestic fight. What his wounds showed, the findings shocked investigators because the injuries were so superficial. They were medically inconsistent with his story.
Compared to his narrative that it was a
violent attack.
Right.
With blows and trying to stab him to death.
And this guy's a Green Beret, so it should have taken a lot, he should have had some sort of serious injury if he, lost consciousness, like he said. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not even just one stab, because like you said, adrenaline, you would not just go down after one stab.
They said they weren't life-threatening, and they were not defensive in nature, and they were far too minor compared to the brutality suffered by his family.
Everyone else. Yeah.
So let's talk about the collapsed lung. MacDonald claimed for years that he had a life-threatening collapsed lung that nearly killed him. What doctors actually found? One small, clean puncture wound on his right chest. It caused a minor pneumothorax, which is air leaking around the lung. And the air pocket was very small. It posed no serious danger, and he was not in respiratory distress. And the wound was made by a single, controlled, shallow stab. It didn't look like something of being attacked.
No.
Yeah, it looked self-administered. That's what, basically...
Not even a drag.
It was self-inflicted.
Not even... No, nothing. Yeah.
The doctors treated it with a chest tube, and Jeff stabilized immediately. There was no, I almost died. It looked dramatic, but
well, I was
going to
say,
not.
And they probably immediately, after hearing about the other members, were like, oh my God, this guy's probably dying. And then they were like, oh, it's actually okay. And now he's cracking jokes and flirting with the nurse.
Yeah. So MacDonald had several faint bruises on his arms and torso. They were light abrasions, a few shallow scratches on his forehead, and a small bruise on his left hand. The marks did not show patterns of fists, kicks, or force. They didn't indicate he had been beaten with a club. They didn't resemble defensive wounds. They were not in locations where you'd expect injuries if you blocked blows or grabbed a weapon. And they were minor enough that pain medication wasn't even necessary. It suggested delayed onset, meaning they appeared hours later and were likely caused by his own movements, not a fight. You and I think it was probably Colette.
I'm thinking anything on the arms was probably her.
In the forehead, maybe.
Maybe a scratch, like just clawing at him, or maybe even the little girl, clawing at him. But a 2-year-old's not going to, in a frenzy, isn't going to leave big bruises or scratches on you.
Right.
Right.
She was just trying to get away and maybe pulling at him, or that's how it got under her fingernails. But he said he fought for his life from 2 men with a club-like weapons and a man with a knife and a woman chanting over him. But
it's like in Tommy Boy when he's like, everybody, this will only take a minute. And the cops immediately think it's a holdup and they throw the gun to him. And then they're interviewing the cops later. And he's like, after hitting me in the head with a hammer, or after hitting me many, many times in the head with a hammer, I had to give him my gun. Like they create this, I didn't immediately give up or anything story. That's what this is reminding me of. Just, they were beating me with clubs.
Right. But he had no cuts on his fingers, no slicing on his palms, no deep bruising around his knuckles.
No cut open head.
No sprains or fractures, no torn fingernails, and no blood from the attackers.
Okay.
If he had grabbed a knife or struggled violently, his hands should have been shredded, and they weren't.
Yeah, if someone's coming at you with a knife, you get slices. Like your hands get fucked up. I mean...
He had only one true puncture wound, the chest wound.
And you said none of the girls had slices on their hands or arms. It was broken arms, which is another reason that I thought that they were beaten first. After they were either dead or incapacitated, then he stabbed them when it was easier.
That's what they think, too.
Yeah, because otherwise you would have had those wounds from an ice pick or a knife that they didn't have.
Yes. So, okay, they said no multiple stab marks, no clustered wounds, no knife tip bruising, no irregular wound edges seen in chaotic attacks, no deep penetration injuries, and all of that contradicts his own story.
Yeah, and why did you make such definitive statements about, like, the girls never left their room? Why would you even say that? If you were passed out, you'd be like, I don't know what happened. I was passed out. I don't know how long I was passed out for.
Yeah.
Why would you be so sure to say, like, no, Kimberly for sure never left her bed? Like, I thought you didn't know. No, my wife was never in the living room.
Right.
Well, thought you were passed out.
How would you know?
Yeah.
You were passed out. Right. So there was a lack of head trauma. He said he was bludgeoned and knocked unconscious and repeatedly hit by his attackers. The CT scans and examinations showed no concussion, not even swelling, no skull injury, only a tiny bump and a small abrasion.
Unscathed.
The injuries were clean, straight, and controlled that he had.
Yeah.
So, that...
Everybody else's...
The bruise patterns lacked chaotic force.
Everybody else was beaten to death before they had clean, straight knife attacks that were, more than 10 stabs each. So... Him having not been beaten at all and then only stabbed very, very lightly once...
That's clean,
right?
Not jagged. Yeah, it just doesn't fit.
No.
They believed a doctor like MacDonald knew exactly where to stab himself to avoid danger, how deep to go without causing real damage, and how superficial injuries look versus real ones. So, comparison to the family's injuries. Jeffrey had one shallow puncture, a few scratches, minor bruises, and the swelling on his forehead.
He escaped with his life.
Colette had 37 stab wounds, blunt force trauma, both arms shattered, skull fractures, and deep ice pick wounds. Kimberly had massive head trauma, multiple stabbing wounds. Kristen had 33 stab wounds and 2 different weapons. So the brutality, there goes that word again. Why can't I say it?
I don't know. It's blue.
The brutality suffered by the victims versus Jeffrey's minor wounds strongly suggested staging and self-inflicted injury. The medical consensus was his wounds were not severe, they were inconsistent with his story, and they appeared self-inflicted and fabricated. One doctor said his injuries looked like they were made by someone who wanted to look hurt, not someone who was attacked. And another one said he was not a man who barely survived a violent assault. He was a man with scratches.
Yeah.
Like as though he had walked through a forest.
Like trimmed a rose bush.
Yeah, trimmed a rose bush.
I've gotten more fucked up
Probably
after trimming
more.
mine. Yeah.
Yeah. The prosecution used Jeffrey's minor injuries as a focal point. So the jury got to see photos of him, diagrams, and medical testimony with expert analysis. That was a strong piece of evidence proving that he was not attacked and that the intruder's story was false and that he staged the scene again.
Yeah.
That's what all that is pointing to. The jurors did later say his minimal wounds were a major factor in the conviction. And they reveal something else. He was composed enough after killing his family to control his own injury. That's that psychopathy.
Yeah.
He was composed.
Yeah.
To clean up, to move bodies, to stage the scene, and to call for help with a rehearsed story.
Yeah. All of it.
So what was the defense's strategy? Well, they pointed to Helena Stokely as the real culprit.
Okay.
They claimed Jeff was targeted by drug users he treated at the Army hospital.
Boy, his defense did him dirty, because that's the weakest shit I've ever heard.
You could have come up with something better.
I could have, which is why I'm not a defense attorney, because I'd get so many criminals.
And they suggested that the crime scene evidence couldn't be relied upon because it was contaminated by military police. That was the smartest thing they said.
Well, I guess maybe I don't know that I would have even brought her up because she was so not credible. I think that's what was stupid. But I think that I would have stuck with an intruder story and I would have done nothing but refute what the prosecution said. I wouldn't have introduced any of my own evidence. I'd have been like, oh, the daughter had my pajama material under her fingernails. Of course she did. I put her to bed and I was holding her and swinging her around like a little monkey like I always did. And she was grabbing onto me like always. When I laid her down to bed, she had her hands around my neck and I tucked her in. Oh, there was my pajama fibers in my bedroom. You don't say. I would have just pointed out how all of that is circumstantial.
Yeah, they did find pajama fibers under Kimberly's body, which proves
it's pretty
that he
damning.
moved her. Yeah. Yes. If it's under her body, then yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have just done the best to insert reasonable doubt into that story. But he fucked himself saying that he was beaten and stuff. It was going to be so hard to be like, you were beaten? Green Beret, huh?
Yeah.
Because you kind of sound like a pussy.
Exactly. How did he even think that he was going to fool other doctors?
I think if I was the prosecutor,
I thought he was the smartest person in the room.
I think if I was a prosecutor, I would have called him a pussy. I think so. Just to an illicit reaction.
You would have gotten one too, probably.
Objection. Okay, I'll rephrase.
He's not very smart. But okay. So the jury deliberated for 6.5 hours. And then they returned a verdict.
You have to feel good. I wonder if that was 1 day or more.
What do you mean?
If it took more than 1 day. If it was like 3 hours one day and 3 hours the next.
Days. Yeah.
Did it take 2?
It took 2 days.
Okay.
So they received the case.
3 hours into the next
in the
day.
Afternoon.
Yeah.
They deliberated into the evening, reconvened the next morning. By midday, they reached a unanimous verdict.
I think a prosecutor, you'd have to feel good hearing that they're ready to come back.
So it was August 29th. Second-degree murder of Colette. So they're saying he didn't plan it. Second-degree murder of Kimberly. They're saying again, she walked in, it was an accident. He didn't plan it. First-degree murder of Kristen. He deliberately went in and decided
Killed
to
that
kill
baby.
her. Yeah. There was no accident there.
It was going to be really hard to prove. You can't prove the mindset.
Right.
I will argue it till I'm blue in the face. I would die on the hill of he planned it the day he heard about the fucking Manson murders.
Yeah.
That week that it was implanted in his head and he had been thinking about it.
Right. Just the fact that he wrote pig and
Yeah.
chose to stab.
There's no without him being like, yeah, you're right. You can't.
No.
At least on Kristen, they fucking got him. Like,
yes. So he got 3 consecutive life sentences, and the relatively short deliberation showed that the jury found the prosecution case extremely compelling.
yeah, absolutely. That's what I was saying. If it comes back that fast, it's...
The jury said once they studied the photographs of his injuries, the medical records, and the doctor testimony, they all agreed that his wounds were not consistent with a fight against 3 men with weapons.
Yeah. Even if all he had was one good crack on the head.
It's still not
I
enough.
want a laceration. I want swelling, a contusion. I would say he thought he was like, that's enough to be like, he was incapacitated. He got hit like he said he did.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah,
You
but
don't
he
even
wasn't
have
about
that.
to hit himself in the head.
No, dude, the best thing he could have done was like put his head down and run into a brick wall and knock himself out for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, like, really fucking, that's real dedication.
Yeah, there was no way he was doing that. But the forensic evidence proved that he was lying. One juror said, once we saw how the pajama top matched the stab wounds in Colette, the case was over. They said his testimony didn't feel honest.
He testified.
He did.
Of course he did. You know, his defense attorney was like, please, God, no. No! And he was like,
I'm smarter than everybody.
Put me up there.
Yeah.
I know how to sell it.
Yeah. Well, they commented that he seemed overly charming. He seemed rehearsed. He seemed slick. He seemed unemotional, which he was.
He just couldn't fake it.
He couldn't. He seemed self-focused and he seemed evasive when pressed. That's just been consistent throughout the whole 9 years.
Yep.
One juror said his testimony felt like he was trying to sell a story. And another one said he was calm in a way that didn't make sense for a man accused of killing his family. He shouldn't have been that calm.
Yeah.
He was just trying to act like
Even
somebody
after
that shouldn't be worried.
9 years, even if you didn't do it, just sitting there and listening to the details and going over it again should have elicited some sort of a fucking emotional response even after time had passed.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
you and I aren't even related to anybody, and we're having emotional responses.
yeah.
It just...
Or you seem totally deadpan, absolutely emotionless in a way that is like you are void of feeling anymore. Like you would just be like, no. You know, like so flat. Which would sell as like depressed and just dead inside. Which
Right.
would seem, you know what I mean? But like...
No, he's charismatic.
Yeah, not slick.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear your fucking slick when we're talking about your family's murder.
Right.
You just can't... Human emotions are complicated and not simultaneously. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
they're complex enough that you can't mimic them, but they're simple enough that I can tell if you're not on track. Does what I'm saying make sense?
Oh, yeah.
In my head, I feel like I know what I'm saying.
No, it tracks for me.
They're not so simple that you're just going to be like, oh, I see what her grief looks like. I'm going to do that. But they are so simple that if you're not doing grief right, it's noticeable.
Yes. Well, the jurors sure noticed
Yeah.
it. They didn't believe the hippie intruder story at all. There was no evidence of intruders because there were no intruders. That's what one juror said.
I just didn't even believe that 3 of them were white and 1 was black. I thought that was stupid of him to say. Mixed race? Sir, knock it off.
They didn't like his behavior after the murders. One juror said he did not look like a devastated father. Another said, when we heard about his life afterward, it was hard to believe he had loved them.
Yeah.
So
At some point, it had been 9 years. If for the first year or 6 months or something, you go crazy and buy a Ferrari and like fuck a bunch of hoes, you're like going through something. But then if you like develop a fucking drinking problem and just absolutely look like a disheveled man, okay, there it is. It's catching up to you. This little, like, these little bits of something to keep your mind occupied aren't working, and it's hitting you. The fact that for 9 years he just bawled the fuck out.
Yeah.
When was the grief gonna come? When was it? Oh, it didn't?
They said that they believed he killed them in a domestic argument. So they bought the prosecution's story.
It just totally makes sense. Yeah.
The pajama top sealed the case. They believed the prosecution completely, and that was due in part to the organized, scientific, logical, and backed by physical evidence. They walked us step by step through the house, and by the end, the story made total sense.
Yeah.
So they didn't leave anything up to... They described everything like they were talking to a fifth grader, basically.
Yeah.
They didn't believe Helena Stokely at all. She must have been on the stand. They said she contradicted herself. She seemed confused. She changed her story often, and she was clearly impaired by years of drug abuse.
Yeah.
One juror said she was unreliable. Nothing she said matched the evidence. They all said the decision was not difficult. We were all in agreement almost immediately. There was no real debate. The evidence was overwhelming. If anything,
They just felt like, well, we better go over everything, but
yes, they did it out of...
let's take a vote. Oh,
We're all in
we're all
agreement?
in? Okay, well, let's read all the evidence to say that we did.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it sounds like. It said, if anything, we wondered why it took 9 years to bring him to trial.
Yeah, like, wait a second.
Like you were saying.
This seemed pretty evident, like, from go. So we better look over everything, because are we missing something? Why did this take so long? Because this is open and shut.
Exactly. And why didn't the police do what they should have done?
Again, which is why I think it's ironic that he was like, I'm being fucking persecuted by the military. And I was like, big dog, they were doing you a favor. They let your ass go.
Right?
Because this was obvious.
Yeah. Well, multiple jurors said the brutality of the crime scene made them instantly reject the hippie intruder theory. Colette's shattered arms and crushed skull and multiple stab wounds. Kimberly's massive head trauma. Kristen's over 30 stab wounds. Can you hear that? That's my stomach saying.
I hope the mic picked that up. That was incredible.
My stomach just went.
I'm sure the mic picked it up. We can enhance the audio on that. It was impressive.
One juror said this wasn't a frantic attack by strangers. It was rage. It was intimate. And I knew then it had to be someone inside that house.
If it was strangers and they were that frenzied to have the strength and the want and the need to stab that many times, they had to have been so high. It would have been messier. There would have been blood footprints and
yes, there would have been more evidence.
Evidence, a fucking palm print on the wall and some shit because they
Somebody
were
would have
out
left
of it.
something.
Yes.
One juror said Jeff's testimony was like a lecture. No grief, no hesitation. I felt he was lying. And another one said he smiled too much.
Yeah.
The blood type reconstruction really helped. The house told the story, they said. The house was screaming the truth, one of them said. And then MacDonald apparently smirked. So that surprised many people, but jurors mentioned it. During parts of the prosecution's case, MacDonald was seen smirking, leaning back casually, looking amused and rolling his eyes, or appearing irritated, not devastated. A juror said he didn't look like a man listening to how his children died. He looked annoyed, and that bothered me deeply.
Yeah, if anything, you should look pissed and angry. Like, I have to sit here and listen to this recount of like how my children died brutally, and you're saying that it was me and it wasn't, and you're still not finding who did it. And you're like, you would look mad, but you wouldn't. Yeah, just.
Then with the timing evidence, it was just impossible. They said the timeline
just didn't make any fucking sense. Yeah.
So, where Jeffrey is now, he is incarcerated. All appeals have been denied. He continues to claim innocence. He's in his 80s and in prison medical care due to declining health.
So where is he now?
So his parole has been repeatedly rejected. He's in prison medical care because his health is declining. In prison, he has maintained his innocence. He filed numerous appeals.
Of course.
He has given interviews, shifting blame to investigators or intruders still. He got married to a new wife. Women.
Priorities.
Women. Why do women? Stupid? She died.
Oh.
He has always painted himself as persecuted, and even in old age, the core traits remain. Charismatic, articulate, unwilling to accept responsibility. So let's talk about how people describe Colette after her death, just to end this on a good note.
Okay.
Family and friends repeatedly use these words: soft-spoken, warm, tender, intelligent, loving, selfless, a devoted mother,
hopeful, empathetic, too gentle for military life. Her stepfather, Freddie Kassab, who was instrumental in who was the only one trying to bring the case back to the trial, said, "All Colette ever wanted was a peaceful home and children to love. She didn't deserve what happened to her." That's understatement of the fucking century, isn't it? Well, folks. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for being along for this 3-part journey. I can't believe it. This one, I mean, I know I really wanted to say that I told you so, but God, I wish I was wrong. How fucking awful is this? But thank God for Freddie Kassab and for his due diligence to bring justice for his daughter and grandchildren, both born and unborn. So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for stopping by. Until next time, remember to like and subscribe so you'll know when we've uploaded new videos for you. And leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you thought about this case. I can't wait to see if this was on 48 hours like I think it was, because parts of this sounded like I'd heard it before, but I just couldn't piece all the pieces together. So I'm going to go Google if anybody ever covered the story before other than the movie Mom was talking about. Yeah, leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought. Thanks, guys. Bye.